It was the wrong time to start a business because we couldn't get a bank loan. In the end, we were maxing out our life savings at the time, which wasn't a lot, and maxing out our personal credit cards to get this thing off the ground because it was 2008. The recession had started. We thought if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it.
I love your story because you're both sisters. You both were on a completely different path. What made you say it's time to work together as sisters and start this company?
Our parents and our grandparents were both immigrants from Greece, and our grandmother used to bake everything from scratch when we were growing up. Our parents would go off to work and they would drop us off at our grandparents' house, which, like typical Greek families, lived down the street from us. And we would spend all day with our grandmother, following around the kitchen, and she baked everything from scratch. Breads, cakes, any dessert. And we just had this love of baking, and it really bonded us together.
Yeah, she was a very, very strong influence on us growing up as young girls.
And so when we were younger, we'd always say, oh, one day we're going to open a bakery one day and use our grandmother's recipes. And our parents, like most immigrant parents, said, absolutely not. We came to this country so you could work for a big company and get a good job. So we kind of, put it on the back burner, went to school. Sophie studied molecular biology. I ended up studying politics. But we always loved baking, and we would bake all the time. And we thought, we keep talking about this and we're never going to do it. We're always going to wonder what if our entire lives. And we didn't want to have that feeling. And so when we quit our jobs to start the bakery, our parents were very, very worried about it.
What did they say to you?
They said, don't do it. Yeah. They said, please don't do it. We were both making, good salaries at the time. And I think that for most parents too, they don't want to see their kids struggle. They feel like they felt like they had to struggle for us to provide a better life for us, and so they didn't want to see us go through the same struggles because in the end, we were maxing out our life savings at the time, which wasn't a lot at the time, and maxing out our personal credit cards to get this thing off the ground because it was 2008. The recession had started, and
this was not the time.
This was not the time.
Be starting
and I think
business.
I think that what frightened them even more was that it was the wrong time to start a business because we couldn't get a bank loan. I ended up having to move in and sleep on Sophie's couch for a full year. We sacrificed a lot to start this business, but it was something that we wanted to do. We love baking, and we thought if we don't do it now, we're never going to do it.
And that decision to become an entrepreneur is actually one of the scariest decisions for people. Taking that, it's like a leap of faith. And I always say when you have a job you're unhappy with, it's sometimes easier. But in our case, it was scary because we had these stable careers that we liked. And I think when you are giving up something that is, fairly stable and comfortable for something so unknown that could go very terribly wrong, it's a very scary feeling. And when you don't have the support system around you of people building you up, instead people are doubting you, you start to doubt yourself. And so for us, that moment of deciding, it was a very scary time. And I always say, when you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur and you have that spark inside you, you got to follow your heart because there's going to be a lot of doubters around you and you just got to go with it.
How did you get past that doubt? Because it's one thing when other people doubt you, but when you question yourself, 9 out of 10 small businesses fail in the first couple of years.
Yes, and that point was not lost on us, and it was our parents would bring it up all the time. And for us,
your parents would bring it up all the time.
Yeah, and we were well aware of the odds, especially in the food industry. It is very tough. And I think even the very first day we opened, I have this memory of being at the mixer with Katherine by the oven saying, do you think anyone's going to show up today on our first day? You still don't think as
What
an
happened on that day?
On the first day we opened, we had a line down the block.
Street. And we thought, you know what? It was our first day.
It was Valentine's Day. We opened on Valentine's Day.
Tomorrow will be different. But the next day we had another line. The next day another line. And then we realized soon that we couldn't do this on our own. We needed help because it was just the two of us. And our mom actually came to help us for the weekend, and she ended up never leaving. Just feel like you can't go home.
I think the question you had about doubting yourself, I think all entrepreneurs doubt themselves throughout the process, because once you start getting too confident, that you can start making mistakes. And so you have to have confidence to be an entrepreneur, but at the same time you have to be very also careful and cognizant of everything going on around you. And when you're an entrepreneur, you learn to live with this little uncomfortable feeling in your stomach every day because you don't know what's going to happen. It could be as simple as something like the power going out, or deliveries being late or something like that. But something's going to go wrong every day, and every day you wake up.
It's like living with a little bit of uncertainty every day. You don't know what's going to happen. Something terrible could happen. Something great could happen, and you have to live to learn with that discomfort.
And that's what being an entrepreneur is about. You can't control everything. It's not stable. You learn to thrive on it. You learn to accept the uncertainty and thrive on it instead of dreading it.
It's an interesting point because a lot of people who have sat in your chair have talked about this idea that as a little secret to being an entrepreneur, it doesn't get easier. Actually, the problems sometimes just get bigger. The more successful that you get, they're different. What has been the toughest lesson for you to learn along the way so far?
At the beginning, when we almost were too conservative, and partly because we didn't have a lot of capital to get started. We didn't have investors. We just had the two of us in our small license. We undershot a lot. We had to probably rebuild our kitchen and bakery 3 separate times within like the first year and a half because we kept undershooting it. And in the end, it ended up costing us a lot more money than had we just done it right the first time. But people around us saw us struggling. Like we weren't sleeping. We were, working ourselves ragged. And you just learn to push through. So I think probably the first 6 months were our toughest in that respect because we knew that we had just had to get out of this period where we'd had to hire more people and get the infrastructure in place to support the business, the need or demand that we had.
And you used credit cards when you were getting started. That's kind of like the big no-no.
Yes.
Like, don't use a credit card at all.
Yes.
The interest that comes on credit cards is unbearable and it can stay with you. How long did it take you to pay off that credit card debt?
Very little time because at the beginning we didn't have much staff. It was the two of us. And we were fortunate that we did have a lot of business at the beginning. And so I think that helped us in that respect. But you're right. I think if anyone's starting a business out there, it's not a great way to start a business. But like Katherine mentioned, when we started, it was 2008. No banks were lending at all. And we always, there was a saying, and I forget who said it, they say that sometimes the best business ideas die in bank parking lots. Because if you don't have the money, like you can't, people keep telling you no. And so we had to find a way to get to yes. People kept telling us no, no, no. And we needed to find a way. And so we actually put in a lot of sweat equity too. Like we painted the walls ourselves. We did things that normal people would hire contractors to do, and we rolled up our sleeves and did it ourselves. And so it would have been very easy for us to say, you know what, we can't get a bank loan. This is not the right time. God's sending a message. Let's not do it. And so we could have very well not started the business. And it wasn't the ideal situation, but we did it. And so sometimes you do what you got to do to make it happen.
There are a lot of people who are co-founders of companies and relationships suffer as a result. And how do you manage that? How do you maintain your sister relationship and your co-founder relationship?
It's actually very difficult, and sometimes the lines get a little blurry. And Sophie and I grew up, we're a year and a half apart. We grew up really close. When we were younger, we used to fight about toys, clothes, hair, telephone, everything. And so from a very early age, our relationship was always very forgiving. So we'd fight. 10 minutes later, we'd go get lunch. We'd fight and want to go play together again afterward. And so it's still very much like that to this day. And it's really important when you find a business partner that you have a relationship that can kind of withstand tough times, arguments, and fights. Because for us, being sisters has actually helped us. We don't sort of tiptoe around each other. If Sophie doesn't like something, she tells me to my face. She doesn't sugarcoat it. And I think we're able to make the best decisions for our company by just like hashing it out.
And sometimes when you're in professional working environments, you have to worry about how you deliver messages or how someone's going to take something, and there's office politics involved. And with your sister, you can be your complete, unfiltered, authentic self.
You're
running
not
with an idea to let
emails in the perfect way and wasting time on that.
Exactly. It's we do what we need to do to get it done, and we move very quickly. And sometimes our husbands think we're crazy because we don't even finish each other's sentences. And when they're trying to speak to us, I'm like,
they speak very slowly.
Get to the point, dude. Because we almost can read each other's minds. And so sometimes when they're speaking in full sentences, like I don't have
time. It's like, oh my God, get it out.
And so that helps when you're running a business with someone who you kind of had this mental connection with. It definitely helps. And like Katherine said, with your sister, we've got each other's back. There's tough times. It's not like, someone takes a vacation during a busy time, and then it's like with your sister, like you're in it together.
Has there ever been a time where you were locked on a decision, you both had completely different?
Yes, all the time.
Okay, so give us an example, and how did you get through it?
These pink boxes.
Yeah.
So when we first opened, I wanted to have pink boxes, and Sophie said,
So
absolutely
we opened on
not.
Valentine's.
But she said, no, our colors are black and white. The Georgetown Cupcake logo is black and white. We're definitely not having pink boxes, Katherine. And I said, but it'd be nice to have this, pop of pink. It's our favorite color. We'll have pink bakery boxes. No, Katherine, no. And then so we finally passed our health inspection, and we ended up opening on Valentine's Day. And I said, what if I ordered pink boxes just for Valentine's Day? So we do it one time a year. And I finally twisted her arm and she said, okay, fine, only on Valentine's Day this one time. So we had pink boxes, and the day went, and it was a tornado of people coming through. And the next day we had leftover pink boxes and then the white boxes. And every single customer that came into our store asked me if I could take their cupcakes out of the white box and please put it in those pink boxes. And it was men, it was women, it was older people, younger, everybody wanted these pink boxes. So we do fight about these things a lot, but at the end of the day, you have to listen to, I think the lesson was you listen to your customers. Your customers will tell you everything you need to know about your business.
Yeah, and so when we have these fights, we'll give it a try. Like our philosophy is like, we can try something. If it doesn't work, we move on quickly. But Katherine proved her idea was right, and I had to accept it as an older sister. It was difficult, I have to admit.
Every business struggles with this question at some point. Yep. How do you know when an idea isn't working and you need to move forward?
So we really do try to rely on data a lot. And our biggest, advice to entrepreneurs is when you set up your systems, try to keep that in mind, where you can collect information that's going to help you make business decisions. Because when you set it up from the get-go, it's easier. And we didn't do that at the very beginning, but when we started our website and shipping business, we really tried to put these things into place.
And every time we make new flavors, we usually do the secret cupcake every day where we do 100 free.
Right.
So customers can try it, they give us their feedback. And if we do put it on the menu, and we look at the numbers say, you know what, our customers weren't fans of this flavor, we take it off and then we'll put a new flavor on.
Yeah, and we also use qualitative data to drive decision making. Like, numbers are great, but we use social media to listen to our customers. I think entrepreneurs have a reputation for thinking that they know everything about their business and they don't know how to run it. We spend a lot of time listening to our customers, and listening is a very underrated skill in business, because if you spend enough time listening to your customers, they really will tell you what you need to know. And
a great real-time tool is also the cupcake cam. Some days I'll have it on my computer in the background, and I'm watching the packing cam, and I'm watching what people are getting. What's a hot seller? Like, people are really loving this new seasonal flavor. Like I see 4 going into a box or 3. And so that kind of stuff is real-time visual data that we can see too.
So you can go actually online and watch 24, we have it 24/7. So this is another thing that we do that kind of helps connect with our customers, because we're really letting them inside our bakery 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can see your cupcakes being frosted, you can see your wedding decorations being made.
We're not behind some door, and you can see that they are being made from scratch, and the eggs and the milk go in, the flour sifted, and so I think people like that.
Yeah, I think connecting with your customers is also a really important thing that we've learned to do over the past 8 years.
What's the show like, real fast, behind the scenes? Is it what you expected?
When we started it, people thought, well, are you sure you want to do a reality television show? And actually, it was one of the most fun experiences, because we get to share all the kind of craziness in our bakery, and it's very family friendly. We build sculptures out of cupcakes, and now we're doing it on the cupcake camp, so you can see these things built live.
We have a great political one.
Yeah, we're going to build
Hillary and Donald out of cupcakes.
On September 26th, the day of the first debate, we're going to build Donald and Hillary out of cupcakes. So watch out for that.
We don't have enough politics in our life. We have to actually put.
I have a little. We have a spray, food color airbrush spray paint, and so I might be doing a little orange.
Spray tan. But so the show, it just kind of shows our life as sisters running the bakery, kind of the problems and issues.
Has there been an episode where you guys were just like, oh my God, why did they have to show this part?
A lot of them.
So many. Probably my wedding episode, and I didn't fit into my dress.
Yeah.
That was pretty bad.
Okay, hold on. We have a problem here. I can't.
Oh my God.
Careful, Sophie. I don't want any marks. I know. Okay. It doesn't fit. But it's funny, because when we first started, we were like, oh, don't film this, something will go wrong, don't film that. And then we realized that people out there care about seeing what it's really like.
The authentic part. What do you think it is about what you did that built that passion for your brand? Because a lot of people set out to do that, but it's not that easy to do.
We wanted to pair this best-in-class product, using the best ingredients, with this special destination philosophy, and also establishing this personal connection with our customers. Because sometimes when you're working in business, it's hard to see the tangible result every day. You work so hard on this project or for a client deliverable, and you don't see the tangible result, the happiness. But in our business, when our employees work, like they're making someone happy
right
like
away.
It's immediate,
And
so
it is
you see
infectious,
that,
and then you become happy too because you've made someone else happy. And it's also a very fun place to work, I have to say. I mean, I always, I tell this all the time, but if I could frost cupcakes all day long, that is my dream.